Did you guys get a notification if it's recording? Okay, perfect.
All right, so Jillian, whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
Sounds good. Let me get my screen shared. Can everybody see this? Okay. Okay, so you guys will be kindergartners for this lesson. The book is an ABC book, so everybody has background knowledge on the ABCs, and I'll go over any vocabulary words that have not been covered in class so far. So I will get started. Oops. Okay. So, good morning, kindergartners. Today we are going to talk about making comparisons. Sorry, technology. So today we're going to be talking about making comparisons, and we are going to be talking about a lot of different animals, and we're going to be reading an animal book. So our objective today is to introduce making comparisons between the text and your personal experiences. So we'll talk about that a little more in a little bit, but first I'm going to show you a bunch of pictures of different animals. And I want you guys to look at these for a couple seconds and then think about if you know what any of these are. And if you do, you can go ahead and raise your hand and I'll call on you to unmute and share which animal you know, or if you have one of these animals or as a pet, or if you've seen one before. So go ahead and raise your hand if you think you know. Marissa, go ahead and unmute yourself.
The elephant. It's my favorite animal.
Oh, really? Have you ever seen one before?
Yeah, and it's
Really? That's awesome. Okay, does anyone else? Sorry. Olivia?
I have a dog.
You do? What kind of dog do you have?
She's a Saint Berdoodle.
Oh, wow, awesome. Okay, anyone else? Abigail?
That's a walrus.
It is a walrus. Have you ever seen a walrus before?
Mm-mm.
I have not either, but we're going to see one in a little bit. Okay, does anybody else have one they want to share? And then we'll get moving on. Okay, well, this is a hippopotamus, a hippo, if anybody hasn't seen that before. And this is a kangaroo. So we will see those in our story in a little bit. But first, we're going to go over some vocabulary words that we might not know that we're going to see in our book. So I am going to show you one or two pictures of that represent our vocabulary word. And I want you to think what you think the word might be. And you might not know it, but you can just take a guess. So go ahead again, raise your hand if you think you know what the vocabulary word for these pictures are. And then we'll talk about
it. Is the one on the left, is it balance?
Or
yeah, yes.
So they'll both represent the same thing, but yes, you're right, it is balance. So this is to have the same weight on each side. So we see here that it's the same, so it's balanced. And this person is balancing on one foot. So can everybody unmute themselves and say balance?
Balance.
Good job. Does anybody have any questions on this word? Okay, so I'll do the same thing. I'll go ahead and put the picture up and I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it. And then you can let me know what you think. This is what the clown is doing. So go ahead, and if you think you know, you can share.
Juggling.
Juggling, you're right. So the clown is juggling. So juggling can mean a couple different things. It can either mean what this clown is doing, the clown is throwing the balls and catching them, or it can mean to do many things at the same time. So if I was to be watching TV and doing my homework and eating, I could be juggling multiple things. Does anyone have any questions? Is anyone able to juggle, or have you tried before? No, me either. Okay, so can everyone unmute yourselves and say juggle?
Juggle.
Juggle.
Good job. All right, let's move on to the next one. Got two more. So this one's a little trickier. And what do you think that these two animals are doing?
Nibbling.
Yep, you got it. I guess it wasn't that tricky. So it's nibble. Has anyone not heard this word before? So this is to eat in small bites. So has anyone ever seen an animal nibble before? What animal have you seen? And what were they nibbling on?
My dog nibbles my arm sometimes.
Yeah.
Yesterday, when I was driving, there was a squirrel nibbling on bread in the middle of the road.
Really? Oh, that's funny. Okay, so can everyone unmute and say nibble?
Nibble.
Nibble.
Good job. Does anyone have any questions on nibble? Okay, here's our last word. So this is not the animal, but it's how the animal walks. So if you think you know, go ahead and say it.
Is it waddle?
It is waddle. So waddle is to walk while rocking from side to side. So has anyone ever seen someone or an animal waddle before?
Yeah.
What
When my-
animal have you seen waddle before?
When my dog was pregnant, she waddled.
Oh my goodness. Was it funny?
It was. Her stomach like hung to the floor. It was so
Oh my God. Oh, that's funny. So these are all vocabulary words that we're going to see in our book today. So let's review them one more time, the words that we saw and learned. So can everybody unmute them yourselves? And I'm going to say the word and you can repeat it after me. Juggle.
Juggle.
Okay. Nibble.
Nibble.
Balance.
Balance.
Waddle.
Waddle.
Okay, great job, kindergartners. So now we're going to start our book, which is called Animals in the Park. And there's a couple things that I want you to think about while you listen. So we just talked about a couple different vocabulary words. So if you see any of those, I want you to keep an eye out for those words if you hear or see any of them. And I will stop and we'll talk about them a little bit more. I also want you to think about if you know any of these animals. If you have one as a pet, if you've seen them at the zoo, if you've seen them elsewhere or in a TV show, if you've seen them in school before, because we're going to be talking about those after we read. And also, do you do any of the things that these animals are doing? So they're all going to be doing different actions and activities. So think about if you do any of those while I'm reading. And if you have any questions while I'm reading, you feel free to ask. So Animals in the Park, an ABC book. So does anyone see, what do we notice on this front page? What animal is this?
An alligator.
Yeah. And what is he picking?
An apple.
Yep, you're right. So he's picking out of an apple tree. All right. Animals in the park do not move all day, but now that it is dark, watch them as they play. Does anybody recognize an animal in here that we saw earlier in the picture? We talked about a bunch of different animals at the beginning.
An elephant.
Yeah, an elephant. Whose favorite animal was that? Marissa's? Yep, I see a dog that we talked about. Yeah, there's a bunch here. So A, alligator can act. B, bear can balance. Does anybody see one of our vocabulary words in here? You can go ahead and unmute and tell me if you see a vocabulary word. or if you hear one that I said.
Balance.
Balance, you're right. So what is this bear balancing? Do you know?
A basket of balls.
Yeah, there's a basket of balls and then there's also a banana. So that's one of our vocabulary words, balance. Oops. C, cat can count. D, dog can dance. Can dogs really dance, do we think? No, I don't think so either. Maybe when we're not around. E, elephant can enter. F, fox can follow. G, goat can giggle. H, hippopotamus can hop. Does everyone know what giggle means? Can somebody tell me what giggle means? This isn't one of our vocabulary words, but can someone unmute and let me know what that means? Do you know?
To laugh.
Yeah. What makes you guys giggle? Maybe your favorite TV show? What'd you say? Did someone say something?
Somebody said their favorite TV show, and I said dad jokes.
That's a good one. Okay. I, iguana can imagine. J, jaguar can juggle. I see another one of our words that we talked about. Does anybody else? Which word did we hear?
Juggle.
Juggle. And Abigail, do you know what the jaguar is juggling? Kind of hard to tell. Could be
Marshmallows?
that's what I was thinking. It could be some marshmallows. So our vocabulary word was juggle. K, kangaroo can kick. Lion can leap. M, monkey can march. N, newt can nibble. Nibble was one of our vocabulary words. Does everyone see nibble? And do you guys know what a newt is? Has anyone ever seen one? It's kind of like a salamander. O, octopus can observe. P, panda can pull. It's pulling a big pumpkin right there. Q, quail can question. R, rabbit can race. S, seal can sail. T, tiger can tug. U, umbrella bird can uncover. Has anyone ever seen a bird holding an umbrella before? It's kind of funny. V, vole can visit. W, walrus can waddle. X, x-ray fish can examine. Was this one of our vocabulary words too? Can everyone unmute and say waddle?
Wow.
Waddle.
Good job. And he's pulling a big, a lot of watermelon, it looks like. Y, yak can yell. And Z, zebra can zigzag. Animals play all night. They act, dance, and hop. But now that it is light, watch them as they stop. Okay, so now I'm going to send you all, I think I have to stop sharing my screen so I can send in the chat. I'm gonna send you guys a link. Did anyone see an animal that they really liked in the book? You can go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us. Anyone? Okay, well, we'll see in this form that you fill out. So if you go ahead and click on the link that I sent you, you're gonna have one question asking you what one animal that you saw in the book was, and another one asking what this animal was doing in the book. And if you can't remember exactly what that animal was doing, you could just give any action that you saw in the book. I'm getting a lot of responses. So I see the walrus was waddling. The elephant was entering. The jaguar was juggling. Great job. Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay. So we're going to talk about making some comparisons. We're going to talk about how some of the animals and actions we saw in the book are similar to ourselves. So a comparison is, we're going to talk about how they are the same. So I put up this little picture that shows a giraffe and a zebra, and we're going to talk a little bit about how they're the same. So does anyone have something that is similar about a giraffe and a zebra?
They both have 4 legs.
Yep, they both have 4 legs. I have one, they're both animals, right? Does anyone have one more they can share?
They both have heads.
Yep, they both have heads, you are right. So we're going to talk about some comparisons within our book that we just read. So I chose to make a comparison first to show you guys as an example. So I chose to use the letter D. And so I'm going to fill out this sentence. So this sentence is, the animal blank reminds me of blank because blank. So I'm going to use the letter D in the animal and action that I saw in the book to compare to myself. So I chose the animal dog, which reminds me of my black lab because I love spending time with her. So I saw a dog in the book and it immediately reminded me of my dog. So I chose to make my comparison to my dog. So this sentence, if we read it all the way through, says, the animal dog reminds me of my black lab, Callie, because I love spending time with her. And now we're going to talk about the action that the dog was doing. Does anybody remember what the dog was doing?
Dancing?
The dog was dancing, you are right. So the action dancing reminds me of myself because I used to dance all of the time when I was little. So the comparisons I made from the book was to my dog and that I like dancing. So we're gonna make a comparison together now. I'm gonna have to exit out really quick. I am going to send you guys this in the chat just in case. Usually I would have pictures for each student in a list, but obviously can't do that. So I'm just going to send this list in the chat for a reminder for you guys. And then we will do this together. Okay, sorry. Okay, can everyone see this? Okay, so I'm gonna need your help. You can look in the chat at the list I sent you, and we're gonna make a comparison. So if you have any comparison that you think you can make from an animal to yourself, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know. So we'll choose one animal together as a class. So does anyone have an animal that they have a connection to that we can use?
Cat.
Cat, okay. So the animal cat. And what does this remind you of?
My friend's cat.
Okay. And why does it remind you of your friend's cat? Do you play with the cat? Do you watch the cat sometimes?
Yeah, we watch the cat sometimes.
Okay. So this sentence, let's read it. I'm going to read, and then you guys can repeat after me. So the animal cat, so go ahead and repeat that,
The
The
animal
animal
cat.
cat
reminds me of my friend's cat
My
reminds me
my
of
friend's cat.
cat
because we watch the cat sometimes.
Because
The cat
cat
sometimes.
sometimes.
Okay, so I'll read it one more time. The animal cat reminds me of my friend's cat because we watch the cat sometimes. Okay, so now we're going to choose an action. So does anybody have an action? It can either be the same one the cat was doing or it can be a completely different one that you can relate to. So remember, mine was dancing because I used to take dance class when I was younger. So can someone different give me an action?
Waddle.
Waddle. Okay, so the action waddle, what does that remind you of?
My grandma.
Okay. And why does it remind you of your grandma?
Because she kind of waddles when she walks.
Okay. So the action waddle reminds me of my grandma because she waddles when she walks. So can you guys repeat after me? The action waddle
The action
model
reminds me of my grandma
reminds
Reminds
me
me
of
of my
grandma.
because she waddles when she walks.
because she waddles.
waddles when she
All right, great job, kindergartners, making these comparisons. Midge, should I just explain what I would do next since we only have a couple minutes left?
You have a good like 5-6 minutes. So whatever you think.
Okay. I can explain it, and if we want to just think about it, that's fine. So we are going to create some drawings on our own now. So if you would take out a piece of paper and whatever type of pencil or marker or crayon that you want to use, and so the kindergartners would have like 5 to 6 minutes to make a drawing, and I would have a timer up, so we wouldn't stop drawing until the timer stopped, and so what you'll be drawing is you choose one animal and one action from the story that you can relate to, like I did with my dog in dance, and like we just did with the cat in waddle. And they can be from the same letter or they can be from different letters. So you can choose any one you want. So I chose the letter D because I have a dog and I love to dance. So I'm going to draw a picture of this while you guys are drawing your pictures. So you can draw any picture to show your comparison. So if you chose kangaroo because you have a show that has a kangaroo in it, you could draw that character from that show. And if you chose kick because you play soccer and you like to kick the ball, you could draw a picture of you playing soccer and kicking a ball. And once we were all finished, we would share our drawings in the breakout rooms with a partner. So I won't make you guys do the drawing, but that's what we would do. And then after breakout rooms, we'll come back together as a class. And can somebody tell me one thing that they learned today?
What nibble means.
What nibble means, and what does nibble mean? Either you can share or somebody else can.
To take a little bite.
Yeah, to take a little bite. Okay, kindergartners, well, thank you for participating today. And hope you have a good rest of your day. Okay, I'm back.
All right. Nicely done. All right, Jillian, what do you think? What do you feel went well?
Um, I feel like getting students participate. I tried to make sure everyone was participating throughout the entire lesson because I know it can be hard while reading a book. But that was also something I would want to work on is how to get everyone participating during a book because I didn't want to take too much time away from reading it. But I think that went well. I also think that the vocabulary section went well, getting everyone engaged, and I wanted to make sure that there were no like misunderstandings while reading the book with some of the vocabulary words. So I chose some of the ones that I thought maybe kindergartners wouldn't have known yet.
I totally agree. That's one of the things that I wrote down is I liked how I could tell you were trying to get everybody involved. To be honest with you, when it comes time for kindergarten involvement, they'll be involved.
Yeah.
You have college students who are not wanting to talk. But your kindergartners, they will participate. Yeah. Sometimes you have to be prepared that they might participate too much. So where you might have to kind of like lead them back, to where you want them to go. How many of you have worked with kindergartners?
I have.
About half of you? Okay. It's an experience. Oh boy. Yeah. Far cry from dealing with like 4th or 5th graders. Okay. So, but that is a good point where we need to make sure that we are trying really hard to get them all to participate, whether it's virtually or in the classroom. So, yeah, I did. And I liked the way too, Jillian, that you did the choral. That's how you tried to keep everybody involved. All right, which is good practice for kindergarten as well. How about those of you who were students? What were things that you thought went well?
I really think kindergartners would because I feel like most kids like animals and think they're interesting. So I feel like since you picked a book that has animals in every page, that will definitely keep kindergartners' interest better than, I don't know, other stories. So and just the whole lesson throughout was engaging and fun to listen to. And I think kindergartners could focus for that long.
Thank you.
How about some other things that you felt while you were being the student?
I really liked your vocabulary section. Like having the pictures along with the definition was like really good, and also like having us guess at it. Like that was like a great way to get them engaged.
All right, Jillian, how about something that you think, I know you kind of mentioned it, but is there anything else that you would maybe tweak a little bit or do something differently next time?
Maybe the we do section, I felt like it wasn't really we do because there were only 2 people being able to participate because it was kind of, you want to make a comparison to just yourself was the point. So I don't really know how I would go about that to get more people being able to help out with that. So I would probably go back and think that over a little more. And then also just like I said, reading the story, for me it felt kind of long. It might have just been because I was reading it, and like you said, it'll be different with actual kindergartners. So yeah, I would say those 2.
Okay. How about some other suggestions? Or if you thinking of what she just said as a student, is there any suggestion that you could give her for that? And remember, you're thinking you're young, you're very little.
I don't think the reading was too long at all. I think you took really appropriate breaks and broke it up so it wasn't just full story. It was broken up in a really good spots, and so they could kids could really come back and refocus. So
Okay.
I don't think it was too long.
Thank you. I think it was probably just because I was reading, so it feels longer than it actually is.
Anything else with that? All right, well, here is my question to tie things up a little bit. So the 6 of you who have went,